All right, everyone, now it's time for the UK's news. Nigel Farage is standing down in Tory districts, but he's falling short of promising to stand down in others. What his strategy is instead of having like an agreement literally with Boris Johnson, because he doesn't want to have an agreement, Farage has apparently said, okay, whatever, you have those seats, you take care of areas in which you're viable, and they're targeting marginal labor districts, which is in districts where the Labor Party's only leading by a little bit. Nigel Farage is taking all available effort and putting it into those seats to try to get some Brexit Party candidates in there. And I don't know, maybe he's stumping for Conservatives as well. It seems like he doesn't really care about party divide so much as he does literally just getting Brexit done, which is a more pragmatic approach. Now, some people, of course, are pissed at this. Like, there were some people, Ramoners mainly, saying, oh, well, this is evidence Boris Johnson is far-right and evil because Nigel Farage doesn't have a huge problem with him. But this only came after Boris Johnson ruled out the possibility of any additional extensions. So, essentially, the election will happen. At that point, you either do or do not have a composition of parliament there capable of delivering Brexit. At some point, Boris Johnson would probably just resign and say, fuck it. I know that's what I would do now. Would I rather see, like, Prime Minister Nigel Farage? Yeah, from, the other side of the pond. Well, not at the moment. But in general, yeah, Nigel Farage seems like the sane person in the UK's sort of political system. Some people are saying that he's been offered shit in order to back the Tories or whatever, but he's been fighting for Brexit the whole time, so yeah, no shit he's going to back the people that actually want Brexit to happen as opposed to people that are against it. I'm very, very surprised at why Nigel Farage, of all people, would do so. But, it could work as a strategy. It's just, if they come up short, let's say that they're 2 or 3 votes shy of what they need to overhaul, the parliamentary rules that are preventing Brexit from going forward and then actually finally deliver it, you're not going to have Brexit at all. What'll end up happening is that probably what you'll end up with is a second referendum, which will undo the first potentially, or people vote in favor of Brexit again, very likely actually, and it'll keep being kicked down the road. The can will just keep getting kicked. You'll never actually leave the European Union at all. And keep in mind that these aren't even the final hurdles to actual sovereignty for the UK, because then after Brexit is officially triggered, you have to renegotiate everything else. It's sort of like everything was sort of slapped together instead of just having a clean break and then negotiating. It's arguably been messier in, these months since Brexit, the vote actually happened, than it would have been to just have a hard break in the first place. If there had been no attempt to negotiate. If they had simply said, well, we're out, so bye, and immediately done so. This whole time could have been used to hammer together trade deals, and it wouldn't just involve the EU either. It would involve the US, Canada, all of these other countries. It would have been a good thing. With Trump at the helm in the US, would be quite a bit easier to hammer out trade deals with the United Kingdom, as opposed to, can you imagine if it was Obama, basically trying to cover for the European Union. The one difficulty with a sovereign UK is that it puts the US in a position where if it's too nice or perceived as being too nice to the UK, maybe the EU starts to bitch about it a little bit. Well, we're going to increase this tariff. It's a punitive tariff because you've got a deal on sardines with the UK, so we're going to raise the price of Italian sardines or some shit like that. Such as non-free trade, such as socialism and interventionism, I suppose. But I wish the people of the UK well. It's about time that they show the world whether you're capable of governing your own affairs. If you're not capable of properly triggering Brexit, if the people of the UK are ambivalent enough so that they don't go out and vote in the next election, in the early election, for pro-Brexit candidates across the board, anyone here, if you're in the United Kingdom, I am telling you, you only get one more shot at this. You've triggered Brexit, causing all of this calamity for the globalists. They're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, only making it abundantly clear that you want Brexit, still want it. This is essentially a de facto second referendum anyway, when you really think about it. The composition of Parliament will choose whether Brexit really happens at all in any form that's recognizable. If you do not participate, and you do not decide to take sovereignty back from unelected bureaucrats sitting in Belgium right now, then perhaps the UK should not be minding its own business. Perhaps the EU is a good thing for the UK, and the people of a former major empire suddenly have lost the capability to actually make their own decisions. I think it'd be sad. I think it means essentially the erasing of these various cultures over the next century or so. You'll be a slave, you'll be a vassal. That'd be unfortunate, but it's preferable to having so much bureaucratic strangulation and deadlock internally as a sovereign state that you're not capable of governing things. This should be fairly cut and dry. You had a democratic referendum. People voted to leave. Your politicians have been throttling that since then. You have now a chance in a general election to vote solely for candidates who support Brexit. Fuck party affiliation. One of the biggest problems we have in the United States is people who are partisans. Well, I won't vote for this person because they have the wrong letter after their name, even though they're fundamentally saying the things that I agree with. Now I'm going to stick with this party. So people have all sorts of weird chimera-style like political affiliations in this country, in the United States, and they don't really always make sense. Sometimes they get a little bit crazy, and it can strangulate things, and it can be unhelpful, and it can lead in some cases to tyranny, to authoritarianism. Within the UK, it doesn't really matter. There are people, most of your parties are very dead set on being pro or anti-Brexit. Like the Brexit Party is specifically pro-Brexit. The Liberal Democrats are specifically anti-Brexit. They're multinationalists. Within your largest parties, Labour and the Conservatives, there's a mix of the two. By and large, the Conservative Party are the ones that want Brexit. I would say if you get any possibility of knocking somebody off from the Labour Party in favor of a Conservative, even if they're not a hardline Brexiteer, that's arguably positive because it gives Boris Johnson more latitude. And anywhere where there's the possibility the Brexit Party can pick up a seat would be good as well. But you must get energized about it. You need the energy that you had before in the days of Nigel Farage's UKIP leading the way on Brexit. When he would go over and he gave his famous Good Morning speech, which, by the way, is more difficult to find in its full form now on YouTube. It seems to have been scrubbed. I wonder what the reason could possibly be for that, since the British government literally is fond of pressuring tech firms directly. Remember that time that the Labour whip there directly sent letters to Google and Twitter and stuff to ban Tommy Robinson, and some of these sites actually did? Yeah, there's no interference in U.S. affairs from that side of the world. We should totally not safeguard things in Silicon Valley at all against foreign interference. It's not coming from Russia. No, I think it's coming from Western Europe usually, and the UK. I think it's very sad that things have come to this. At some point, shit or get off the pot is an old saying that people use. Basically, do it now or just forget about it. Just forget about sovereignty and having a nation, because the whole goal of the European Union is to erase national identity. It's the stated goal, to form a political union that will have one currency, presumably one business language, German maybe, I suppose, in the future. It's interesting how the Germans have managed to lead much of Europe without firing a shot. Form one military, one trade union, one everything. Yeah, that's not imperialism, by the way. It's nice. They put a smiley face on imperialism and managed to get the people of Europe to swallow it. It's evil. It's flat out evil. That's about all. Peace out.